I'm Jim Bloch. I'm the owner of Bloch Media, and I've been contracted to be the audio consultant and acoustic designer of this brand new audio room here at AIM. Let's see, I became a sound engineer, got interested in sound back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. I came out of a background in theater. I was a lighting designer and sound designer in theater, and then moved to the Washington area up here and sort of made a natural transition, finding a job at a local recording studio that was interested in pursuing sort of audio video, and became a partner there, and then sort of been with it ever since. I think it was a Thursday afternoon, and I was working away at my home studio, and all of a sudden I get a knock on my front door. And it's Gene Kreider, who's the owner of the Cardinal Construction, the general contractor. And he says, "Do you know anything about audio rooms?" And I went, "Well, Gene, yes, I actually do." He goes, "Well, I have this little project in Arlington. I was wondering if you'd be interested in it." And so he sort of laid it out, and I came in for a meeting and went, "Wow, what an opportunity!" You know, this was such a nice fit. With AIM, and it was just sort of an out of the blue thing. I had not been doing any consulting or room construction at this level for quite a number of years, so it was like just sort of happenstance. Like, what if I decided that it was just another door-to-door salesman and decided not to answer the door? But fortunately I did, and it's proved to be a wonderful, wonderful thing. When I first began to think about it, what I really wanted from Paul LaValle and from AIM is, what do you want? What are your visions of what you want this room to do? So let's start and just power think about it. You know, let's just sort of imagine what you think's possible, and the needs that AIM has, and then I can sort of bring to bear some of the things that are available in the marketplace now in terms of equipment and different functions that different softwares can do. And we just began this sort of collaborative journey, and as a result, you then develop sort of your task list or your scope of work. So I knew that it had to be a room that did multiple things. It wasn't exclusive. It was to be a project room, meaning you recorded and mixed in the same space. So one size fits all kind of room, which the project room is kind of a not new concept, but not old concept in terms of rooms. So once the scope had been defined, then it's just a matter of applying the solutions to what the problems were. And the problems really were, okay, it needs to record narration. Well, to record narration, you need a what? You need a microphone and a cable, and so you just start that part. The equipment's the easy part. The part that was really a joy for me to work on was the actual design of the room, which luckily we were, AIM had contracted Paolo Square, the architects. And that was a real opportunity for me to work one-on-one with an architect, which the last time I had done that really was I was working in conjunction with a large construction company, and it was just I was working with their assistants and things like that. But this was, we would just sit down and we would talk about, I would say, this is what I need the room to do. They'd show me drawings. I'd say, no, we need to change this. Here are some height measurements to go by. And slowly but surely, we worked into a space and created a space and applied the proper acoustic treatments to that space that solved that problem, which is the formation of a nice, quiet, good-sounding room. And then the other part was then what equipment goes in that room to make that beautiful room functional. And so that's been the journey. It's kind of been this nice design side and look side, which dealt with the acoustics and also the functional quietness of the room and those type things. And then bringing in the technical side, which is this piece of equipment hooks up to that piece of equipment. And then the final step is kind of what we're wrapping up, or have wrapped up now, is is hooking it all together and watching it work. It's been well over a year since I was brought on board, because it was last April or last March that we had those initial meetings, you know, and I just couldn't believe it would take this long for that to happen. But having been there day to day and watched the progress week to week, you know, you begin to understand, yeah, we're doing a lot here. You know, this isn't just, you know, put down some 2x4s and put up a wall. It's highly technical work. You're dealing with, you know, very thick walls and extreme tolerances that you need to meet, and keeping true to sort of the acoustic construction techniques and that, which is, some of that was new for Cardinal, some of it wasn't, you know. So it was just a long, steady, you know, progress. And in retrospect, I'm glad it did take that long, because there was a lot of work that I could do beforehand, before I even showed up here and actually brought things here to install. I was able to do a lot of sort of pre-installation stuff. But I think what's important too is it never felt rushed. That I was never feeling like I was making decisions with the general contractor and with the architects that felt pushed or rushed. We always had time to think them over, really go through them 2 or 3 times, you know, make sure then the choices we made were the right choices, which even went so far as my relationship with the equipment vendor. You know, he and I talked about my idea for the system, and over, do you want to try this? Yeah, that's nice. But he goes, well, we just got this in. I go, okay, well, let me see how that would incorporate. And so there was this real constant sort of movement and process taking place. And that all required time. So I'm sorry it took a year, but I'm glad it took a year.
Once the acoustics of the room are built, you know, and once the specifications are given for, you know, like the walls are, you know, they're at least 8 inches thick, I think, and, you know, multi-layers of drywall and soundproofing between that, and those type things. And then at the end of the road is finally when, you know, you bring the equipment in, like we've done here, and then you just go ahead and start hooking all the ends up, and then, you know, hopefully within a short period of time I'll get to be able to turn everything on and then start checking it out.
The room itself, the only sort of old thing, the existing thing it shared, is the floor, which is about the only surface. Everything else is new. I mean, from the walls that sit on the floor to the ceiling to you know, even the wires that I ran. There are a couple wires that connect into the existing infrastructure. The air handling unit for that whole room sits independent of what existed here. So it really is sort of a new thing plopped down in an old space. I mean, I think I remember there were like two edit rooms or 2 offices in that space. So once they were ripped out, mapped out on the floor where this room's going, and the idea is the room indeed does float. I mean, the whole room sits on a layer of neoprene rubber, you know, so it's not even hard connected to the slab that exists here. So it's sort of brand new inside of old. When choosing the equipment, I would go back to the original goals that were set. Does every piece of equipment that is chosen satisfy that goal? You know, does it satisfy the goal of recording narration or recording a guitar or mixing this or doing a live show that? Or does each piece of equipment serve at least a singular, if not multiple purposes to take care of the whole list? You know, we don't need a huge, you know, 48-track mixing console, which would look awesome sitting in front of that room, and you use this much of it. You know, so from the equipment selection, I was very careful to make sure I selected things, and things were recommended that would give you the most bang for the buck, that you would get the most out of that equipment in all those different disciplines. There are many rooms that are just built to just do music or just do voiceover or just do post-production mixing, you know, that can't really do the other things well. Well, we've built a room that does many things, and it does them pretty well.
But it's a great project because it's from scratch. You know, AIM was with high-end equipment, so there's really been very little, if any, compromise. I mean, you've got a world-class room here. And it's really, I'm really proud to have worked on it because it's different in and of itself, that it's a project room, in that you record and mix and do all of those within the same space, whereas traditionally you'd be in another room as sort of your control room, and then you'd have a separate booth or recording space. This is meant to be all in one, which had its challenges designing it, because it's got to, you know, it's got to do a little of both. So I think we've been really successful in getting something that's like high. I mean, it's got a high look to it, you know, very sort of arty and very very high end. And plus, I'm really pleased with the way that acoustically it's sounding.
With this room, it's a unique opportunity to take something from a conceptual stage, from your mind, from you and I talking about it, to something physical and something that's working and something that is delivering what initially was talked about. And to be part of that process has really been wonderful. And so from a pride point of view, I'm extremely proud of this room. I'm proud of the work I've done, and I'm proud of the work everyone's done, and I'm just excited about what it does for AIM in of itself, in terms of giving them a world-class room, a world-class studio within their facility here, and really delivering something that there's no excuses to be made for. There's none. I mean, people that know the industry can walk into that room and go, yeah, this is a real room. There's nothing make-believe about this room. So that makes me really